My fiancé said, "I'm moving in with Derek. We're having a baby together." I said, "Congratulations." Then I canceled her ring, cut off her car, and changed every password. 6 hours later, she was sobbing at my door because Derek had kicked her out. Sup, Reddit. I'm writing this from my kitchen table, staring at a half-empty coffee cup and trying to process how fast your entire future can implode. One phone call. That's all it took. 4 words, and my whole life blueprint went straight through the shredder. 20 seconds of conversation and 3 years of building something real just evaporated like morning fog. I'm Nathan, 36 male, and this is the story of how my fiancé of 8 months thought she could blow up our life and still keep her lifestyle. Spoiler alert, she was very, very wrong. Some background first, because context matters here. I work in commercial real estate development in Northern Virginia. Started as an assistant to a property manager right out of college at 22, spending years learning every aspect of the business from the ground up. While my buddies were out partying on weekends, I was studying for my broker's license and building relationships with contractors and investors. Most people thought I was boring. I thought I was building a foundation. The early years were brutal, honestly. Entry-level pay, long hours, lots of grunt work nobody else wanted to do. I was the guy who showed up early to unlock properties for inspections, stayed late to reconcile spreadsheets, and volunteered for every project nobody else wanted. Not because I loved filing paperwork, but because I understood something most 20-somethings don't. Visibility matters, and so does reliability. By 28, I'd closed my first major deal, a strip mall renovation that netted me enough commission to put a down payment on a modest 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. 1,800 square feet, built in the early 90s, needed work but had good bones. Paid the mortgage every month like clockwork, built equity, kept my credit score pristine while my college friends were still paying minimum payments on credit cards they'd maxed out on spring break trips. The house became my project over the next few years. Weekends spent refinishing hardwood floors that previous owners had covered with ugly carpet. Updating the kitchen with new countertops and fixtures, I installed myself after watching about 50 YouTube tutorials. Landscaping the backyard from an overgrown jungle into something that actually looked intentional. Turned a dated cookie cutter into something actually worth looking at. Real estate guy living in a house that proves he knows what he's doing. Makes sense, right? By 32, I'd moved into commercial development full-time, working with investors on larger projects, managing construction timelines, negotiating leases for retail spaces and small office buildings. Not glamorous work. Nobody's making movies about guys who review zoning permits, but steady and profitable. I cleared about $95,000 last year after expenses. Had a healthy 401k that I'd been maxing out since I was 25, 0 credit card debt, and a house that had appreciated about 40% since I bought it. The point is, I built something real. Brick by brick, year by year, sacrifice by sacrifice. I didn't inherit anything, didn't get lucky, didn't have rich parents bankrolling my mistakes. Everything I had, I earned. That context matters for what comes next. I met Emma, 31 female, through a mutual friend named Jake at a neighborhood block party 3 summers ago. Jake worked at a local gym. We'd become friends through a weekend basketball league, and Emma was one of the fitness instructors at the same place. She taught spin classes and some kind of dance cardio hybrid that I never quite understood, but she had this energy about her. This laugh that made you want to keep talking just to hear it again. She was wearing this yellow sundress that afternoon, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, arguing with someone about the best pizza place in the area. I disagreed with her opinion, loudly, and somehow that turned into a 2-hour conversation that ended with me getting her number. We clicked immediately. On our first date, she told me she was tired of dating guys who still had roommates at 30 and thought financial planning meant checking their bank balance before ordering at Chipotle. She'd had a string of relationships with what she called projects, guys with potential who never quite figured their lives out. She was ready for someone stable, someone real. I fit the bill, apparently. She thought it was attractive that I owned a home, could actually cook a meal that didn't come from a microwave, and had a retirement account that wasn't just a suggestion. "You're like a real adult," she told me on our third date, like it was this rare and exotic quality. It's honestly kind of refreshing. Dating Emma felt real from the start. We talked about the future like it was a given. She started leaving stuff at my place. First a toothbrush, then a drawer of clothes, then half a closet. By our 1-year anniversary, she'd basically moved in, though she kept her apartment, just in case, for another 6 months before finally letting the lease expire. Her moving in officially was supposed to be this big romantic milestone. I cleared out the second bedroom, which had been my home gym, and turned it into a proper office space for her. She needed somewhere to do her class planning and social media content for the gym. I installed better lighting because she complained the overhead fixture made her look washed out on video calls, bought her a nice desk, even set up a little backdrop area for filming workout clips. The house felt more complete with her in it. I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true. Coming home to someone instead of just an empty space changes the whole energy of a place. We'd cook dinner together, talk about our days, plan weekend activities, normal stuff that felt special because it was shared. Her parents were fine with me. Her dad, Richard, was a retired insurance adjuster, practical guy who appreciated that I had a stable career and wasn't asking to borrow money. When I asked about Emma's childhood, he'd tell these long stories about camping trips and teaching her to drive. Good guy, just quiet. Her mom, Patricia, doted on Emma like she was still 12, constantly fussing about whether she was eating enough or working too hard. She was pleasant enough at family dinners, though she had this habit of making passive-aggressive comments about grandchildren that Emma always brushed off. The proposal came 8 months ago. I'd been planning it for weeks, but nothing over the top. Emma hated being the center of attention in public. She'd told me horror stories about friends whose boyfriends proposed at restaurants and made them cry in front of strangers, so I kept it intimate. Cooked her favorite meal at home, pan-seared salmon with this lemon dill sauce she loved, roasted asparagus, the whole deal. Had candles set up on the back patio where we always had our morning coffee. When she came outside after dinner, I got down on one knee with a $12,000 ring I'd been saving for since our second anniversary. She cried, said yes. Immediately started calling every friend she had while I sat there grinning like an idiot. That night felt like the start of everything we'd been building toward. The wedding planning kicked into high gear immediately. Emma threw herself into it. Pinterest boards with thousands of pins, venue tours every weekend, cake tastings, dress shopping trips with her mom and sister. I mostly just wrote the checks and nodded along. Happy wife, happy life, right? Or happy fiancé anyway. My job was to show up where she told me, approve things that needed approving, and not have opinions that complicated her vision. The budget crept up gradually. The venue she wanted was more expensive than we'd initially discussed. The photographer had to be this specific person her friend recommended. The flowers couldn't be just any flowers. They had to be specific arrangements from a florist an hour away. Each individual upgrade seemed reasonable enough, but they added up fast. I didn't complain. We could afford it. And if this was what she wanted, I wanted her to have it. Building a life together meant compromise. And this was my compromise. Let her have the wedding of her dreams. We'd build the marriage of our dreams together afterward. That's when Derek entered the picture. Emma had been complaining for a few months about feeling stuck in her fitness routine. She taught classes all day, but wasn't seeing personal progress anymore. Said she wanted to try personal training to take things to the next level, maybe eventually get certified as a trainer herself, and expand her career options. Made sense. Career advancement is a good thing, and she seemed genuinely motivated about it. I offered to pay for sessions with a trainer at her gym. Seemed like the supportive fiancé move. The guy she picked was Derek, 29 male, one of those personal trainers who looked like he lived at the gym. Chiseled jaw, arms that strained his polo shirts, the kind of lean muscle definition that comes from either great genetics or steroid assistance. His Instagram was basically a shrine to his own body, which should have been my first warning sign. But I'm not a jealous guy. Never have been. Emma picked him because he had good reviews and specialized in the kind of training she wanted. That was the extent of my analysis. First few weeks, everything seemed normal. Emma would come home energized after sessions, talking about new exercises and nutrition tips. She bought a food scale and started meal prepping on Sundays. Seemed genuinely excited about the progress she was making. I was happy she'd found something that motivated her beyond the routine classes she'd been teaching for years. Then the energy shifted. Gradually at first, then all at once. She started staying late after sessions. Derek wants to go over my meal plan. Derek thinks I should try this new supplement. Derek says my form is really improving and I should consider competing, Derek says. Derek thinks. Derek wants. Every conversation somehow circled back to what Derek thought, what Derek said, what Derek recommended. She'd come home and the first thing out of her mouth would be something he'd told her that day. I started keeping mental count. Some days she mentioned him 15, 20 times before dinner. I brushed it off at first. Insecurity is a bad look, and I trusted Emma. We'd been together 3 years, engaged, planning a wedding and a future. What kind of guy gets jealous over a personal trainer? The paranoid kind, the controlling kind. I didn't want to be that guy. Then other things started changing. She was on her phone constantly, not just scrolling social media like usual, but texting, smiling at her screen in ways she hadn't smiled at me in months. When I'd ask who she was talking to, she'd say, just friends, or gym stuff, and put the phone face down. She started criticizing me in small ways, comments about how I should work out more, suggestions that my cooking was too heavy, too carb-loaded, observations that I'd let myself go since we got engaged, which was ridiculous. I'd gained maybe 5 pounds and was still in better shape than most guys my age. The intimacy dropped off too. She was always tired, always had an early morning, always had some reason why tonight wasn't good. I told myself it was wedding stress. We had a lot going on. Things would settle down after the big day. Looking back, I was a world-class idiot. Every red flag was there, waving frantically, and I just kept walking past them because I didn't want to see what they were pointing at. It was a Thursday, around 2 p.m. when my phone rang. I was in my home office reviewing a lease agreement for a new retail space, standard work stuff. Emma's name popped up. Figured she was calling about dinner plans or some wedding detail that needed my approval. Nathan, I need to tell you something. Her voice was weird, formal, rehearsed, like she'd practiced this exact phrase in front of a mirror. I'm moving in with Derek. We're having a baby together. I'm picking up my things tonight. My brain kind of short-circuited. The words registered individually, but refused to form a coherent picture. Derek, baby, moving, tonight. The lease agreement on my screen blurred as my eyes unfocused. Congratulations, I heard myself say. Flat, emotionless, like I was confirming a dentist appointment. That's it? That's all you have to say? What else is there to say? You've made your decision. I thought you'd fight for me or something. Her voice cracked, like she was somehow the victim in this scenario. Like I was the one who'd done something wrong by not immediately launching into some desperate plea for her to stay. You're pregnant with another man's child and moving in with him, Emma. There's nothing to fight for anymore. Silence on her end. Then, I thought you'd at least be upset. I am upset. But I'm not going to beg you to stay after you just told me you're having someone else's baby. What exactly did you think was going to happen here? I don't know. I thought there'd be more of a reaction. There's your reaction. Congratulations on your new life. Goodbye, Emma. Then I hung up. The weird thing was how calm I felt. Almost detached. Like I was watching someone else's life collapse from a safe distance. No screaming, no crying, no throwing things. Just this strange, cold clarity settling over everything. But underneath that artificial calm, my brain was already switching into problem-solving mode. Because here's the thing about building a life brick by brick. You learn how the structure works. You know which pieces are load-bearing and which ones can be removed without bringing the whole thing down. Emma was not load-bearing. She was an addition, and additions can be demolished. First things first, the engagement ring. I called the jewelry store where I'd bought it. I'd had it resized there 6 weeks prior after Emma complained it was slightly loose on her finger. The manager answered, and I explained the situation as calmly as I could manage. Engagement broken off. Relationship over. Ring no longer serving its intended purpose. He was sympathetic, said they had a 60-day return policy for unforeseen circumstances, minus a 15% restocking fee. Not ideal, but better than nothing. I drove there immediately. The whole way, my brain kept replaying the conversation. Having a baby together. Moving in with Derek. Tonight. Like our entire relationship, 3 years of building something real was just a temp job she was quitting without notice. Returned the ring. Got back $10,200 of the $12,000 I'd spent. The manager shook my hand and said he was sorry for my situation. I thanked him and left without looking back. Next, the car. Emma drove a leased BMW 3 Series that I'd co-signed about 10 months ago. She'd wanted something professional looking for when she met with potential private clients, maybe expanded into personal training herself. Her credit wasn't strong enough to qualify for the lease alone. Too many late payments in her 20s, not enough credit history overall. So I co-signed, because that's what you do when you're building a future with someone. You help them. You vouch for them. You put your name on things because their success is your success. The monthly payments came out of my account automatically. $420 a month, straight from checking. I'd set it up that way because Emma said she always forgot to transfer money on time, logged into the leasing company's website, removed my payment method, then called them directly. Automated systems only get you so far, and explained that I needed to remove myself as co-signer effective immediately. The representative was polite but clear. I couldn't remove myself from the contract, but I could stop the automatic payments. Emma would need to either qualify on her own income to continue the lease or return the vehicle by the end of the month. Without my credit backing her up, she'd need a substantial down payment or a different co-signer. A fitness instructor's salary wasn't going to cut it for a BMW lease. Not even close. Derek's personal trainer income probably wasn't much better, but that was their problem now. Then I went through the house systematically. Every shared account, every subscription, every password she had access to. Wi-Fi password, changed to something she'd never guess. She'd need that to access any of the smart home features I'd installed, which meant she'd need it for the security system, the thermostat, the cameras. Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO Max, logged out on all devices, passwords changed. She'd been using my account since we moved in together because why pay for 2 subscriptions? Made sense at the time, didn't make sense now. Home security system, code updated. She knew the old one, could have walked in any time. Not anymore. Gym membership at the fancy place downtown that I paid for. The same gym where she met Derek. Ironically, canceled. She could keep using the one where she worked, but the membership I'd bought her as a birthday present last year was done. Credit card where she was an authorized user. Called and removed her immediately. The customer service rep asked if I was sure, and I said yes, very sure, effective immediately, and please flag any future attempts to use the card as unauthorized. The whole process took maybe 3 hours. Methodical, efficient, clinical. Like filling out paperwork for a project that got canceled. Here are the assets, here are the liabilities, here's how we unwind the partnership. By 5 p.m., I was sitting in my living room with everything secured, wondering what would happen next. I didn't have to wonder long. 6:30 p.m. My doorbell rings. The security camera shows Emma standing on my porch, mascara running down her face, 2 suitcases behind her, looking like her entire world just collapsed. Good. It did. I open the door but keep the chain on. Old habit from when I lived in a sketchier neighborhood, back when I was first starting out. Nathan, please, we need to talk. About what? Derek. She chokes on his name, fresh tears starting. Derek kicked me out. Why would Derek kick out his pregnant girlfriend? He said he needs time to process everything. He wasn't ready for me to move in yet. He said it was all happening too fast. The audacity was almost impressive. She'd blown up our entire life expecting Derek to seamlessly take over supporting her. And when that fell through after about 4 hours, she was back at my door like nothing happened. That sounds like a Derek problem, not a Nathan problem. You can't just cut me off like this. Her voice turns sharp, indignant. I can't get into any of the accounts. The car payment notification said it was declined. I tried to use the gym and my membership is gone. You said you were moving in with Derek. These are Derek's responsibilities now. Please, just for tonight, until I figure things out. You can't just throw me out into the street. I'm not throwing you anywhere. You left, remember? You called me at 2 in the afternoon and told me you were leaving me for another man. I'm just accepting that decision. But I have nowhere to go. You have Derek. You have your parents. You have Megan. You have friends. Figure it out. Her expression cycled through desperation, anger, disbelief, panic, then something that looked almost like hatred. She wasn't used to hearing no from me. This is insane, she said, voice rising. You're punishing me for being honest with you. I'm not punishing you. I'm accepting your decision. You wanted a different life with Derek. Go build it. That's what you said you wanted, right? A baby with him? A future with him? Go get it. But I have nowhere to go tonight. Can't you at least let me stay until I figure something out? No, Emma. You made your choice this morning. You chose Derek and his baby over our life together. I'm respecting that choice. The door to this house closed when you made that phone call. You're being cruel. I'm being clear. There's a difference. I closed the door and turned the deadbolt. She banged on it for about 10 minutes, crying, yelling, threatening to call the cops for some reason, like they could force me to take back an ex who just announced she was pregnant with someone else's baby. Eventually, she gave up and left. I watched through the security camera as she struggled to drag her suitcases down the driveway, looking around like she expected someone to come rescue her. Nobody came. The silence afterward was actually peaceful, like the house itself was exhaling after holding its breath. Update 1. The fallout has been entirely predictable. Thursday night after Emma left my doorstep, my phone started blowing up with texts from numbers I didn't recognize. She was clearly borrowing phones since I'd blocked her main one. Classic manipulation move. If you can't reach someone directly, find other ways to get through. Nathan, please. I made a huge mistake. Derek isn't who I thought he was. I'm staying at a motel. I can't afford this. Please just talk to me. You're being so cruel. I never thought you'd be like this. I know you're angry, but we can work through this. Please just answer. I screenshotted everything and didn't respond. Documentation matters. If this ever went legal, and with the car lease situation, it might, I wanted a clear record of everything. Friday morning, her sister Megan called my work phone. Megan had always been lukewarm on me. She'd made comments before about Emma being able to do better, though she never specified what better looked like. Richer, I assumed. More impressive at parties. Nathan, what is wrong with you? Emma is devastated. She's practically homeless. Emma announced she was moving in with Derek and having his baby. I respected her decision. She made a mistake. Derek turned out to be a complete jerk. He basically used her and threw her away. That's unfortunate, but it's not my problem to solve. She needs help. She has nowhere to go. She has family, you, your parents. She has friends. She has Derek, who's the father of her child. Derek wants nothing to do with her now. Again, not my problem. She chose him over me. She made that choice with a phone call announcing she was pregnant with his baby. That's not a mistake, Megan. That's a decision. You're being cruel. I'm being realistic. She ended our relationship to be with someone else. I'm not a backup plan. I hung up. Friday afternoon brought another treat. Emma's mom, Patricia, called. That was a fun conversation. Nathan, I am ashamed of you. Emma is pregnant and you threw her out like garbage. Patricia, Emma announced she was leaving me for another man and having his baby. I didn't throw her out. She left. But she changed her mind. She realized she made a mistake. She realized Derek wasn't going to support her like I did. That's not changing her mind. That's facing consequences. She needs stability right now. She's carrying a child. Derek's responsibility. Or your responsibility, since you're her mother, not mine. You're heartless. I'm practical. Your daughter chose someone else. I'm respecting that choice. Patricia hung up on me, which was fine. I wasn't going to convince her that her precious daughter had done anything wrong, and I wasn't going to waste energy trying. But here's where things got really interesting. Through my buddy Jake, the one who introduced us, who works at the same gym as Derek, I found out the rest of the story. Derek didn't just kick Emma out because he needed time to process. Derek is married, has been the entire time. His wife found out about the affair and the pregnancy. Someone at the gym saw them together and mentioned it to the wrong person. And Derek immediately cut all contact with Emma to save his marriage. Told his wife that Emma was obsessed with him and had been making things up to cause problems. Classic cheater playbook. Apparently, he'd been running this play with women at the gym for years. The charming trainer who makes lonely women feel special, pays them compliments, gives them extra attention. Some of them fell for it. Most didn't take it as far as Emma did. She was just the latest, and the first one stupid enough to get pregnant. So Emma didn't just lose her fiancé and comfortable life with me. She lost her affair partner too. And she's pregnant with a married man's baby who now wants absolutely nothing to do with her. Karma doesn't play around. Saturday brought more comedy. I got a call from the BMW dealership. Not the leasing company, the actual dealer where she'd gotten the car. Emma had apparently shown up there trying to explain the situation, hoping they'd work with her on the payments. They told her exactly what I already knew. Without a co-signer with good credit, she doesn't qualify for the lease on her own. She has until the end of the month to return the car or face repossession. There's no payment plan, no extension, no negotiation. She either comes up with a new co-signer or she loses the car. A fitness instructor's income wasn't going to cut it. Neither was Derek's, and he wasn't about to co-sign anything for the woman threatening to blow up his marriage. Emma's social media became a goldmine of passive-aggressive content. She started posting cryptic things about learning who people really are, and fake love showing its true colors, and being abandoned when you need support most. A few mutual friends reached out asking what happened. I told them the simple truth. She left me for someone else. It didn't work out. Now she's dealing with the consequences. Most people got it. The ones who didn't weren't really my friends anyway. I spent the weekend cleaning out the last of her stuff from the house. Things she didn't grab in her rushed packing Thursday night. Clothes in the back of the closet. Toiletries under the bathroom sink. Random items accumulated over a year of living together. Boxed it all up. Labeled it clearly. If she wants it, she can arrange pickup. I'm not delivering anything. The house feels different now. Cleaner. Like something that was off balance finally settled into place. Update 2. The harassment campaign has officially begun. Monday morning, I found a letter in my mailbox. Handwritten, 4 pages from Emma. The emotional manipulation was so thick you could spread it on toast. The highlights, she was confused. Derek manipulated her. She didn't realize what she had until it was gone. She's willing to work through this if I just give her another chance. She knows she made a mistake, and she's not the same person who made that phone call last week. 1 week. She's supposedly a completely different person after 1 week. The kicker came at the end. I don't understand how you could betray me like this after everything we meant to each other. The betrayal. Her word, not mine. She got pregnant by her personal trainer, announced she was leaving me to move in with him, and I betrayed her by not continuing to fund her lifestyle afterward. The logic was genuinely impressive in its audacity. I showed the letter to my buddy Kevin over lunch. He nearly choked on his sandwich laughing. She wants you to pay her bills after she left you for another guy? And she called it your betrayal? Apparently, I'm supposed to be her safety net indefinitely, like a financial insurance policy with romantic obligations attached. Save this letter. If she escalates, this shows her mindset clearly. Smart advice. I put it in a folder with the screenshots of her texts. Tuesday brought the financial reality crashing down harder. I got a call from my bank. Emma had tried to use the credit card I'd canceled multiple times at different stores. The bank flagged it as potential fraud until I explained the situation. I called the credit card company, confirmed she was no longer an authorized user, and asked them to note that any future attempts to use the card were unauthorized. If she tried again, it could technically be considered fraud. I doubted she'd be that stupid, but then again, I doubted a lot of things about her that turned out to be wrong. Wednesday brought the family intervention. Emma's parents showed up at my house unannounced. I watched them through my security camera for a few minutes before answering. Richard looked uncomfortable but determined. Patricia looked ready for a fight. "Nathan, we need to talk," Richard said when I opened the door. "About what?" "Emma made a mistake, but you can't just cut her off completely." "Richard, she didn't make a mistake. She made a calculated decision to leave me for another man. The fact that it didn't work out doesn't make it my responsibility to fix. She's pregnant. She needs support. Derek's baby. Derek's support. Or your support. Not mine. Derek is married. He was using her. That's something she should have figured out before leaving me for him. Or better yet, before sleeping with him in the first place." Patricia jumped in, voice sharp. "Look, we know she messed up, but..." "There's no but, Patricia. She chose Derek. I'm respecting that choice. She made adult decisions. These are adult consequences. I'm not going to subsidize her affair because it didn't work out the way she planned." They tried for another 20 minutes. Guilt trips about how I was better than this. Logical arguments about how Emma needed stability during her pregnancy. Even vague threats about doing the right thing and not making this harder than it needs to be. I stayed calm, stuck to the facts. Eventually, they left. Richard looking defeated and Patricia looking furious. Not my problem. Thursday was when things got genuinely pathetic. Emma showed up at my gym. Not the fancy place where she met Derek. The regular gym I've been going to for years, in a strip mall near my office. She must have remembered me mentioning it. She cornered me by the free weights while I was mid-set. "Nathan, please, just listen to me for 5 minutes." I set down the weights. "You have 3 minutes. Clock's ticking. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. I'm scared, and I don't know what to do. 2 minutes. Derek lied to me about everything. He told me he was single. He told me he was falling in love with me. He said we'd build a life together. He never intended any of it. 1 minute. I miss you. I miss us. I know we can work through this if you just give me a chance. We were so good together. Time's up, Emma. You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. You chose to be with Derek. You chose to sleep with him while wearing my ring. You chose to get pregnant by him. You chose to call me and announce you were leaving. The fact that he turned out to be exactly what everyone except you could see doesn't change any of that. But I love you. No, you love what I provided. Stability, financial security, someone to take care of you. Derek offered excitement and attention until reality hit. Now you want your safety net back. That's not love. That's convenience. That's not true. That's not fair. You announced you were having another man's baby and moving in with him. Everything I did afterward was just accepting that reality. If Derek had been everything you thought he was, you'd be happily setting up house with him right now, not standing in my gym crying. I grabbed my towel and headed for the exit. "Find a new gym, Emma. This one's mine." Got a text later that evening from Megan. "You're a heartless jerk. Emma is sleeping in her car tonight." My response: "She chose Derek. These are Derek's consequences to manage." Blocked Megan permanently. Final update. Time for the final chapter on this mess. The immediate aftermath saw Emma's situation spiral fast. Turns out sleeping in a BMW you can't afford while pregnant isn't sustainable. She lasted about a week before the car got repossessed. Showed up at the gym one morning to find it being loaded onto a flatbed truck. Jake told me she stood there crying in the parking lot while the repo guy finished hooking it up. Begged him to wait. Said she could get the money. He just shrugged and kept working. Business is business. The next day she showed up at the dealership trying to negotiate. The manager, same guy I'd talked to weeks earlier, told her flat out, no cosigner, no lease. She apparently made a scene in the showroom, crying about how unfair everyone was being to her. Security had to escort her out. Jake showed me the parking lot camera footage someone leaked to the gym staff. Brutal. Her parents finally stepped up. Sort of. They let her move back into her childhood bedroom. But from what I've heard through mutual friends, it's been a disaster. Emma threw a fit the first week when Patricia told her she couldn't order DoorDash on their credit card. Actual screaming match in the kitchen. Richard had to physically separate them. Week 2, Emma tried to use her mom's Netflix account and found out Patricia had changed the password. Another meltdown. Week 3, Patricia started billing Emma for groceries, posted a handwritten list on the fridge of what Emma had eaten and how much it cost. Emma ripped it down. Patricia put up another one. The house became a war zone. Emma expected her parents to fund her lifestyle like I had. They expected her to act like an adult. Neither side was budging. Then, the DNA drama kicked off. Derek, desperate to save his marriage, convinced his wife that Emma was lying about paternity. His lawyer sent a formal demand for prenatal testing. Emma agreed, probably hoping it would force him to step up once the truth was undeniable. The test itself was a whole production. Emma had to go to a certified medical facility downtown. Derek showed up with his lawyer. They didn't speak the entire time, just sat on opposite sides of the waiting room while a technician collected samples. Jake heard Emma was crying before, during, and after. Derek apparently spent the whole time on his phone, wouldn't even look at her. Results came back 2 months ago. Definitely his kid. 99.97% probability. No room for doubt. Derek's response? He lawyered up even harder. Filed a motion to establish minimal child support. Challenged every expense Emma claimed. Demanded receipts for every single item. His wife kicked him out anyway. DNA proof of an affair baby tends to do that. But instead of running to Emma, he got his own apartment and dug in for legal warfare. The first court hearing got ugly. Jake heard about it from someone who was there for a different case. Derek's lawyer tried to argue that Emma had pursued him aggressively and that he shouldn't be held fully responsible. The judge shut that down immediately, set temporary support at $400 a month pending final determination. Derek filed an appeal the next day. Here's where it gets really good. About 6 weeks ago, Derek's wife showed up at Emma's parents' house. I got this secondhand from Jake, who heard it from someone at the gym. Apparently Derek's wife, her name's Michelle, knocked on the door at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. Patricia answered. Michelle introduced herself, walked right past Patricia into the living room, and waited for Emma to come downstairs. When Emma appeared, Michelle didn't yell, didn't cry, just laid out the facts in a calm, clear voice. My husband has been sleeping with women from that gym for 6 years. You're the 4th one I know about. You're the first one stupid enough to get pregnant. He's not leaving me for you. He's not going to be a father to that baby. And if you think you're getting anything more than court-ordered minimums, you're delusional. Then she turned to Patricia and said, You raised her. This is what you got, and walked out. Emma apparently had a complete meltdown, threw things, screamed at her mother, had to be talked down by her dad. She's been on bed rest ever since because her blood pressure spiked so bad the doctor got concerned about the pregnancy. Meanwhile, Derek got fired from the gym. Turns out when your wife shows up and makes a scene about your affairs with clients, management decides you're a liability. Last I heard, he's working at some warehouse and fighting Emma on every single child support calculation. So now Emma is facing single motherhood with no job. The gym let her go too because of all the drama, living with parents who can barely look at her, and a baby daddy who treats her like a line item to minimize. Last week, Megan tried one more approach. Found my coworker's email and asked if I'd be willing to help Emma for old time's sake. Maybe contribute to baby expenses since I used to care about her. My response, Emma chose Derek to be her baby's father. These are Derek's expenses. That was the last I heard from that family. As for me, I've been busy. Landed 2 major development projects, a mixed-use complex downtown and a retail renovation in the suburbs. Got promoted to senior project manager with a 15% raise. Bought a new truck. Started renovating the master bathroom I'd been putting off for years. 6 weeks ago, I met Rachel at a networking event. 33-year-old architect. Smart. Independent. Pays her own bills. We've been dating since. Last Saturday, Rachel and I were at the farmer's market downtown when I spotted Emma across the way. Very pregnant now, standing alone by a vegetable stand, looking at prices and putting things back. Rachel noticed me looking. Someone you know? Used to. Emma looked up and saw me. Saw Rachel next to me. Saw Rachel's hand in mine. I watched her face cycle through about 5 emotions in 3 seconds. Then she turned and walked the other direction, fast as a pregnant woman can move. Rachel squeezed my hand. Ex? Yeah. She looks like she's having a rough time. She made some choices. Rachel nodded and we kept walking. She didn't ask for details. Didn't need to. 2 days later, I got a text from an unknown number. Emma, obviously. I saw you at the market. You looked happy. I hope she knows what she has. I didn't. I'm sorry, Nathan. For everything. I read it once. Then I blocked the number and deleted the message. My buddy Kevin came over that night to help me install the new bathroom vanity. Told him about the text. Let me guess, he said, holding the level while I tightened bolts. She's sorry now that her life's a dumpster fire. Something like that. Classic. You gonna respond? Already blocked her. Kevin laughed. That's my boy. Hand me that wrench. We finished the vanity, cracked open some sodas, and watched the game. Rachel came over later with takeout. We ate on the back patio, the same patio where I'd proposed to Emma 8 months ago. Different woman sitting across from me now. Better woman. The house looks good these days. New bathroom almost done. Kitchen's next. I'm thinking granite countertops this time. Maybe a tile backsplash. Emma's baby is due next month. Derek's fighting her on hospital costs. Her parents are threatening to kick her out after the baby comes if she doesn't get a job. Not my circus. Not my monkeys. I've got a renovation to finish and a woman who actually appreciates what she has. That's enough for me. She wanted Derek. She got him. Everything that came with it, the lies, the wife, the legal battle, the collapse. She gambled our relationship on Derek being an upgrade. House always wins. Thanks for reading, Reddit. Time to close this chapter permanently. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.